Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to our friends on the West Coast. Thank you for joining us for our webinar today entitled Find Career Success with ADA Practice Transitions. My name is Bill Robinson, and I am the President and CEO of ADA Business Innovation Group, which is the holding company that provides this service on behalf of the ADA. I want to welcome all of you. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We do have a pretty big crowd. I'm going to go through a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, this will be recorded and a link will be sent to you afterwards. Even if you're not able to attend live, or if you wanted to forward it to someone, you will be able to forward that link and be able to watch it after the fact. And that will be available within a few days of us completing the webinar today. If you do have questions, I invite you to scroll to the bottom of your screen. There is a Q&A section, and if you click on that, that will allow you to enter your question. We will have a time for questions at the end of the presentation, but we may not be able to get to all of them, and we promise you that any questions that come in that we're not able to handle in real time, we will print or provide answers to those questions and send those out to you after the webinar in a link. So with that, I want to pass it along to my friend and colleague, Dr. Suzanne Ebert, who's going to start telling you a little bit more about our service. And Suzanne, you are muted.
And there seems to be a little lag there, so thank you, Bill, and thanks to all of you who are joining us to learn more about ADA practice transitions. As Bill said, I'm Dr. Suzanne Ebert, and I am thrilled to welcome you as we initiate the nationwide launch of this exciting service that is backed by your American Dental Association. Today, we're going to take some time to review how the service works and why it works. In addition, we will be walking you through some of the features of the digital platform that you'll be able to access as an ADAPT Insider at the conclusion of this webinar. So make sure that you watch for your email, which is going to provide the link. Finally, we will be rejoining Bill Robinson, our CEO, as he gives the answers to many very common questions as we review the top 10 facts about ADAPT. It really makes sense to begin with a brief explanation of what ADA Practice Transitions is. We have a digital matching service that brings together associates and buyers for dental practices. You know, it's funny because we've often been equated to Match.com for dentists, but I would challenge that because we're not just looking to find a doctor for your practice or a practice for you to enter. We're looking for just the right person for your practice or just the right practice for you to enter. We do this by matching you based not just on location or finances, but based on compatible approaches to the way you treat your patients, your staff, and your communities. Our goal is to help dentists make the process of transitioning into or out of a practice more predictable and successful by matching dentists with compatible philosophies of care. Next slide, please. So why would the ADA work so hard to create and launch this service? Bill will be going into quite a bit more depth into the background, while I want to focus on what we're trying to achieve each and every day. Namely, we want our dentists and our profession to succeed. So with that in mind, let's talk about some of the goals. First, we address access to care issues by finding buyers and associates for practices that are located in smaller markets. Think about this. These practices are closing without buyers. That creates a significant problem with access to quality dental care in their communities. We are addressing that. Secondly, with our nationwide rollout, we're able to support our dentists who wish to relocate. Now, I worked directly with senior dental students for 6.5 years, and I learned that they want and need a service that allows them to find opportunities outside their current location. After all, many of our incoming docs are interested in having the ability to pursue options all over the country. And with our nationwide coverage, we can facilitate this better than anyone. Lastly, and very near and dear to my own heart, is that the ADA wants and needs to support independent dentistry. ADAPT works only with dentists and with dentist-owned practices. Next slide, please. For a quick glimpse into our beginnings, we began in June of last year when the pilot version of the service was launched in the 2 states of Maine and Wisconsin. Didn't take long for us to realize that the dentists in the surrounding states were clamoring for ADA practice transitions to come to them, and sooner rather than later. So for that reason, and with the full support of the ADA, ADAPT was rolled out in 6 additional states in November of 2019. And since then, we have been privileged to work with many dentists who have found their perfect match through ADA practice transitions. We have supported associate transitions, transitions in ownership, and the all-important associate to ownership path. Next slide, please. So let's jump right in with how we work together to make the magic happen with the 3 steps to success when using ADA practice transitions. Next slide. Step 1 is to complete our comprehensive online profile. And the next slide, please. Much of the information that we capture is going to be of absolutely no surprise to you. In fact, when you start filling it out, it might feel like you're filling out a simple contact form. But then it starts to get much more interesting as we continue with collecting the information that you need, that actually we will need, to work together to find just the right practice or dentist for you, one that matches your unique needs. We have a number of questions that relate directly to how you choose to practice dentistry. Your referral patterns, how you interact with staff. All of these questions are laser focused on getting you to think about your unique philosophy of care, which is what will give the patients and the staff confidence that the practice will be in good hands, no matter whether you're buying, selling, hiring, or seeking a job as an associate. This profile is designed to take some time and some thought. We really want our dentists to consider how important this can be to their long-term success. So why is the profile so important? And quite frankly, why have we put so much effort into it? Next slide, please. It's pretty clear from our research that was done early on for the project that continuity of care is one of the most important things dentists want for their patients and their staff. Our profile is designed to get our dentists considering exactly what their philosophy of care is, not what they think someone else wants to hear. So let's just think about this for a minute in the context of interviewing for a job, say. How likely is it that the applicant will present themselves in a way that they think the hiring doctor wants them? They're not really misrepresenting themselves, but there's certainly a tendency to try to fit themselves into somebody else's mold or somebody else's expectations, just to get an offer. What our profile does is it allows the dentist to show off exactly who they are and exactly what they want. And then we can match them with doctors who fit their needs. This really allows for a level of transparency throughout the process that is unparalleled. It's going to lead to less confusion long-term and more success because everybody's taken the time to evaluate their options and articulate their personal goals and expectations for their personal and their professional futures. Next slide, please. So, what happens after the profile's been filled out? Now you begin working with your ADAPT advisor. Next slide. You will have access to a wealth of information, both through your advisor and in the Get Ready section of the platform. Based on your profile, your advisor will point you towards the information you need when you need it. For instance, as a buyer, you've not yet secured financing, the Get Ready section gives you the information that you need to start that process. If you're an owner and you didn't need information on associate contracts, you can access our Associate Contracting Toolkit, which is really a very comprehensive guide to all things related to those contracts. These are just a few examples of the services your advisor can provide for you to ensure that your entire transition proceeds smoothly and on schedule. Next slide, please. So why do we do it this way? Now, many dental transitions today seem to be shrouded in secrecy, sometimes to the point of instilling fear in the selling dentist, leading them to either closing their practice outright or paying a very large fee just to have someone else take care of all of the details. We want to give our dentists back control and demystify the process. Everybody wins when both dentists are fully engaged. Think about it. If two dentists can sit down together and talk through all the terms of an employment contract, if they can discuss together compensation, how the staff is going to be divided up, how the responsibilities are going to go, the benefits package, what is the schedule going to be? You know, if they can discuss those things openly in a conversation without killing each other, don't you think that they'll have a great shot at being able to work together and to be able to handle the bigger issues when they come up? So this leads us to the final point in our transition journey. Next slide, please. After the contracts have been signed. And next slide. ADAPT recognizes that the transition is so much more than signing those contracts. We know that a dentist who is retiring needs to consider life after dentistry. A dentist who is hiring a new associate needs to understand how to integrate that associate into the current office systems. And a dentist who just purchased a practice needs to know how to keep those patients coming back. We provide the tips, the tricks, and some tools to help ensure long-term success for all of our dentists. Next slide, please. And now, let's take a look at the actual platform so you can be ready when you get your email invitation to become one of our insiders at the conclusion of this webinar. So I am going to share my screen. And here we have a sample of an owner's profile. We have separate profiles for owners and incoming doctors, and we want to make sure that you know what you need in order to complete this process. Again, I started off with the contact information. Quite frankly, nothing too exciting there except for this nice picture of me and my granddaughter. Gets a little bit more interesting because I said that we asked about your approach. We have clinical scenario questions here, and many of these are just helping you to articulate what your treatment planning philosophy is. Then we get into your philosophy of care, and there are a number of questions, and I understand that you cannot see this, but I promise when you get into the platform itself, you will be able to make this as large as you like. So we're going to ask questions about how the office actually functions. And these questions are on sliders. So you can indicate how important each individual item is to you. We're going to ask about your referral patterns. We ask that you take a personality assessment. This is so you can learn more about what makes you tick and what's important to you. Because we do want to find out what is your philosophy of care. We give examples because there is no right or wrong philosophy. They're all right. You just need to be able to articulate what yours is. For owners, we also ask about your practice. We'd like to know about your operatories, what equipment you're using. We do want to know a little bit about the demographics, and why is that important that we know about your demographics? Why would a potential buyer want to know? Well, they probably want to know what kind of services they're going to be providing. If you're seeing a lot of children, you probably need somebody who can work on a moving target, or at least is interested in doing space maintainers. Whereas if your population is a bit older, maybe they want to be more interested in sleep apnea or larger restorative procedures. Same thing with payment types. Why is that important? That an incoming doctor know how you get paid. Guess what? They want to know how they're going to get paid, especially if they're coming in as an associate and you're planning on paying them as a percentage of their production. Good to know how you're getting paid. We ask about some appointment information. We ask about some basic finances within the practice and what's so great about your practice. Help us to show somebody what a wonderful opportunity this is. In our matching criteria section, we ask different questions depending on what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to sell your practice, we want to know how much you would like, what percentage do you want to sell? If you are looking to bring on a dentist as an associate, we should probably find out, are you looking for a full-time or part-time opportunity? And then you can always check either and no preference and take a look at everything. I talked a little bit about the Get Ready section. In the Get Ready section, depending on what you are trying to accomplish, the information is going to change a bit. We always have a self-assessment because you need to understand what to expect. We talk a lot about things like, oh goodness, let's just go here. And we have the associate contract. The toolkit has a ton of great information. It also tells you exactly how to go about the process so that everybody is on board and understands the steps that are occurring at each moment. If you're looking to sell, there's a lot more information. One of the big ones is gathering your documents. Make sure you have this stuff ready if you're ready to sell your practice. A buyer is going to need that. And the faster they get that information and the more organized it is when they receive it, the more likely it is that they're going to come through with an offer that's going to make you happy. So we help you figure out, what do you need in order to make all these things happen? Once you get to the match section, we have somebody to show you. I'm just going to show you briefly how you make the decision on whether you want to talk to that person or not. You'll notice that this is Dr. Candidate 2. There's not going to be any personally identified information at this point in the process because until both doctors choose to connect, that information is hidden. You'll see their philosophy of care and you can match it up against yours. You can see how you align in the clinical skills. You can see how you align on those approach questions, how you're going to approach patient care. We can also see how you align within the profile questions with the sliders and with the referral patterns. All of this is incredibly important just to find out, is this somebody that you want to learn more about? If it's not, then you just simply hit decline. If you would like to connect with this person, you hit the connect button. If they have also hit connect, that's when the information is shown and we expect the owner to reach out. If you would like to make some quick notes, we provide this space. This is only for your reference. So that is a very brief overview to our platform. So I am thrilled to be able to turn this back over to the man of the hour, Mr. Bill Robinson, and he is going to go through some of the very common questions for you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ebert. And if you are an existing customer and you're saying, wow, what Dr. Ebert is showing there looks a little bit different than what I filled out, you're absolutely right. It is different. We have taken the feedback that we've gotten from customers over the course of the pilot, and we've made a number of adjustments to make things easier and simpler. Our customers have told us what works for them and what does not, and we built all of those recommendations into the platform and made those adjustments. So now you can probably tell from the graying hair that I'm my formative years were in the 70s and 80s. So I grew up listening to David Letterman give me a top 10 list nearly every night. So as it happens, I would like to share with you now the top 10 ways that adapt is different. Now, when we're talking about differences, that means I'm going to be talking about what's different from the way things are currently done in the market, which right now is primarily the broker model, through employment brokers if you're looking for an associate, or through practice brokers if you're seeking to sell. And I just want to make clear, there's nothing wrong with those models. If those models work for you, that's great. But in the research we did, we found out that those models don't work for everybody. And so we want to offer something that is truly different. And so I'm going to be highlighting what the differences are that are out there so that you can see whether or not what we're offering is right for you. So starting off in our top 10 list, we'll start with number 10. We focus on education. We have been told when we did our research that many dentists felt like when they began working with a broker, they were sort of shielded from a number of pieces of it. And we have a completely different approach to this. We have built in resources from some of the best people in dentistry, and those links are throughout the platform. So as you're going through and filling out your profile, or as you're going through that Get Ready section, you link out to templates and worksheets. We link out to webinars so that if you've got some time and you're interested in a particular subject, you may be able to watch a 30 or 60-minute webinar that gives you insight into it. We provide checklists, we provide spreadsheets, we provide case studies, and all of that is where and when you need it. This is an incredibly complicated transaction, and as you know, the ADA has just incredible resources, but sometimes they can be hard to find. Our goal is to put the resources that you need at your fingertips exactly when you need them. And then as a backup, you always have your ADA advisor there who can direct you to the places that you need to get the information that you need. Number 9, some folks have been worried that we're not confidential enough because we're this online platform. We're actually more confidential than the current model. The current model involves a broker typically doing a listing for you, almost like a real estate listing when you're buying or selling a home, and then that listing is posted without obviously an address or a name associated with it. But it is out there in public. That's not our process. Our process is that your profile information is only visible to you and to your ADA advisor. No one else can see it until you have agreed explicitly to show it to someone else. So we start off with some of those softer skills, those harder things to get to that Dr. Ebert talked about. And when we think that there's a good match on those things, then we share some of that more public information that would include a name and an address and things like that. Even the financial information, if you're worried about that financial information being available, we ask for it so that we can understand what the conditions are at your practice, but you choose whether or not that information gets shared with a potential buyer. You choose when that information gets shared with a potential buyer. Obviously, it will have to be shared at some point. And having said all of that, we also have a little bit of a different point of view on transition plans. One of the things that we heard from a number of folks is that the brokers told them immediately, don't tell anybody, don't even tell your spouse that you're talking about selling your practice. It has to be highly confidential. Well, we think that sharing that information makes sense if it's done in a strategic way, and that could be another whole webinar topic. But there's a blog post, if you're interested on that, that talks about that particular issue. Number 8, we are platform-based or virtual. Now, you may have said, wow, it is pretty impressive that the ADA put this together in the midst of a pandemic. The reality is we started building this long before the pandemic struck. We started matching in our initial pilot states back in June of 2019. That was when we first released the matching capability. But before the pandemic happened, we could see that the world was moving toward digital platforms, and we could see how utilizing a platform like this would allow us to bring greater efficiency and greater exposure and a new way of operating for our customer dentists. But right now, in the current environment, because we have this virtual platform, you only meet with people where you already have a pretty good idea how they might fit into your practice, either as an associate or someone to buy for your practice, and how well they might do at continuing to care for your patients. So we're very excited about that, and that is largely different than the current broker model. The other thing is that we allow you to maintain control throughout the entire process. In our research, when we were building this service, dentists told us that in the current model, they felt like they were being led toward certain decisions. In some cases, dentists reported that they did not meet the buyer for their practice until right before the closing, that it all was maintained at this arm's length relationship. And again, that's fine for some dentists, but we believe that most dentists want to maintain this control for themselves and be a part of all the critical decisions. So that's why we are committed to making sure you understand all of your options at each step along the way and give you the resources and education that you need so that you can make the right decision for you and your career, whether you're coming into a practice or whether you are exiting practice. Number 6, as Dr. Ebert talked about, we are there after the closing. One of my colleagues that I worked with early on in this project said that he felt like we were less about the wedding and more about the marriage. Now, the wedding's really important. The wedding has to go right. But then after the wedding is often when much of the real work is done. And we're committed to that marriage working, whether it's an associate working with your practice or whether it's a new practice or whether it's a new dentist buying a practice and then maintaining the success of that practice in the long term. We are focused on the transition, not the transaction. Transaction's critical, but we are there afterwards. And so that means we support an associate who's trying to figure out how to be a good employee and how to fit in. We support an owner who wants to integrate that new associate and make them an effective part of that practice. We support a dentist who's just made the biggest financial decision of their career to buy a dental practice, especially in those early days when you will be faced with all sorts of things that are first-time decisions. And we're there to back you up and help explain what your options are and give you the resources you need to make the right decision. And frankly, we are even there to support a dentist who may be struggling with retirement. What do I do next? And we encourage our customers, if they're looking to sell their practice and retire, to think about what are those next steps for you so that you don't go into that blindly. Number 5. No dual representation for negotiations. Not all brokers do this, but some brokers claim to equally represent both parties in a contractual negotiation. At ADA practice transitions, we don't believe that is appropriate. And in fact, we will insist that you have your own team to evaluate these important decisions, particularly when you're talking about legal issues. We educate, we do not negotiate. Now, that doesn't mean that we're completely hands-off and you are on your own. We provide all of those templates, we provide all those worksheets, we provide the checklist, we tell you everything you need so that when you interact with your team, it's efficient and it's easy and you don't rack up hours and hours of legal bills because you came in with the right information in order to make it work. We also have found in the transitions that we've done so far that when there is that match on a philosophy of care, some of these other things are much less contentious. People have common goals in these situations where their philosophy of care is aligned, and it makes the rest of the transaction go much more simply. Number 4. So the first comment is, I don't even know how one would go about finding the average price of a dental practice transition, or hiring an associate. The variability is so wide that it is hard to get to that. Though, I think if you ask around, you will find that typical broker fees are 7 to 10%. 10% is the number that gets thrown around most often as the percentage of the practice value that is paid for a practice sale. Our current pricing is 4%. That's what our fees are, paid by the owner dentist when a practice sale takes place. We will increase that price for profiles that are submitted after December 5th, but anyone who comes on the platform and submits their profile prior to December 5th we will honor the pilot pricing of 4% as the fee for a practice sale. And then when it comes to finding an associate, we charge $3,500 for the employing dentist and $500 to the associate, unless it is their first job. If it's their first job out of dental school, then we waive that $500 fee. And then we also connect you to other things that are often required, and those things can be done at competitive prices, and we sort of do some of the legwork for you and work with your state association. Often your state association will have relationships in place, and we can guide you toward those organizations that have experience in dental and can give you an efficient and competitive price for those additional things. And as we continue to go through this, we keep adding on pieces to the service and adding on new capability as our customers tell us it is important. But in general, I think you will find that we are significantly less expensive, and that's appropriate. This was developed utilizing money from the American Dental Association, which is money that has come from members. And so the prices that I'm quoting here are fees for ADA members. Non-members pay a different price, and it is substantially higher. Part of what I told the board early on was that if a non-member utilizes our services, that they're not very good at math, because it would be much better to join than to utilize our service at the non-member price. Number 3, as Suzanne talked about, we are truly national in scope. And as you know, workforces are becoming more mobile. People coming out of dental school are often looking to work in states other than where they went to school. Even people who come out and they have their first job, sometimes it's in a DSO or corporate setting, sometimes it's as an associate somewhere, but then their spouse is moving for a job opportunity. And so they need to go into a different state. That can be daunting. How do you find a solution? Well, now with the national expansion that will be active October 5th, though you're getting an early shot at it now, we are truly national in scope, and that just increases the opportunities for both buyers and sellers, for both owners and associates. And now number 2, we're getting to the biggies. And this is what I hope you have seen throughout this entire presentation and throughout the template or throughout the platform that Suzanne walked you through. what we're going for, and I'm going to go back and talk about the fact that this service came out of literally months of research at the ADA, where the ADA said, how can we make sure that we are remaining relevant to our dentists and providing value to them that is significant and important. And as we started doing this research, we found that dentists use family language when they're talking about their practice. We heard a lot of things like, this is my baby. I built this from the ground up. I don't just want to hand it over to anybody. And those are the dentists that we are trying to serve. We heard from more than one dentist that when they were talking about their partners, they said, yeah, actually going through my divorce was a lot easier than the breakup that I went through with my partner. And then when we dug in and found out what led to that breakup, it often were things that we ended up sort of packaging up in this phrase, philosophy of care, which is, how do you like to run your dental practice? How do you like to interact with patients? When we talk about or ask questions like, do you like to have personal relationships with your patients, or do you want more of a clinical relationship with your patients? There's not a right or wrong answer to that. In fact, there are patients that want their dentist to only be clinical. There are also patients who want their dentist to care about them as a person, and they like having that relationship on a personal level. Neither one of those is the right way to go, but it is important to understand which group you fall into. And if you're looking for an associate, maybe you want an associate who handles things differently than you do. Maybe you want some who is similar to you, but we try and get at those kinds of issues through the profile before you have a meeting. What many dentists told us that their experience with the current broker model was that the primary criteria was whether or not somebody had enough money to buy the practice. Again, very important. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that that's not our starting point. Our starting point is around this philosophy. And then the second thing that is really important to us, and I can say with great confidence that every member of my team, every member on my staff is driven by these foundational ideas around supporting independent dentistry and maintaining access to care. Now, I tell people all the time, and some people don't like it when I talk this way, but that there's nothing inherently wrong with the corporate model for dentistry. Some people like it, some people don't. There's nothing inherently wrong with that model. But when that is the only model, that becomes a real problem. And that's one of the things we are trying to avoid. When we did the research on this and talked to students who were coming out of dental school, they told us, I don't feel like I have any other option. The only place I can go is into corporate dentistry. I don't even know how to get any other opportunity. I'd like to have an alternative. And again, some people like that model, some people don't. Our hope is to provide an alternative for folks who want to be able to consider something other than going into that corporate model. That's been a big piece of what is driving this particular company and why we are here trying to serve you. And now let's go to number one. This probably isn't going to be a surprise for anybody, but the number one reason, we are backed by the ADA. And in fact, significant contributions to this service came from countless member and non-member dentists in all the research that we did. But this is just the start of a list of the organizations, committees, councils, departments. All of these folks contributed to significant decisions along the way of building this service. From what questions we asked in the profile, to what we charge, to how we structure the payments, all of those things came from countless people who are your friends and colleagues. Perhaps some of you who are on this webinar contributed to how this service came to be. And that is a big advantage that I think we have. And we are committed to bringing to bear all of the knowledge and resources of the ADA to make this important decision by you around a transition, to make it easier, more seamless, and more efficient and effective. Now, I can tell you all those things, and I don't think me telling them to you is ever going to be as effective as hearing it from a customer. So I'm going to play a video. It's a little over 3 minutes long. I have been told to warn you that the audio on this video sometimes comes across as louder than the audio from the webinar itself. So if you're wearing headphones, you may want to put your hand up there and pull it out if it comes out too loud. But let me play a video for you and show you what our customers are saying about their experience.
I grew up with dentistry being a very big part of my life. My dad was a graduate of the University of Connecticut, and I followed him, and I also went to the University of Connecticut. I knew once I went to dental school that I was going to come back here to practice. I wanted to be able to take care of the people that I've grown up with. My dad was looking to retire. I could not keep up with the demand by myself. I was very concerned with finding the right person to fit the practice philosophy. It would be nice to have somebody who I would feel very comfortable passing the practice on to somebody who understood my patients and what this practice stands for. Then I learned about the ADA Practice Transitions Program, and I said, this is perfect.
So I'm from a small town in Pennsylvania, and I decided, 100% I wanted to go to dental school. I applied and I got in at UNE in Maine, and it was my first time ever being to Maine. As I was starting my 4th year, and I was like, okay, I definitely don't want to do a residency, and I'd rather just start. Having had such a great dental mentor back home, it was really important to me that I found something similar in a practice. Having not grown up anywhere around here, I had no dental connections. I didn't even know where to turn to start finding a job. If I didn't have the ADA Practice Transitions, I probably would have never found a practice like this. I probably would have just went into a group practice. That's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to just be another associate at a practice.
I'm really happy with the ADA Practice Transitions Program. I think it's been wonderful. It was pretty effortless and very well organized. At each step, I felt like I had guidance if I wanted it, but it was not intrusive. When I left the phone call with Dr. Ebert, I was really excited. She said, I have somebody who I think you would get along with great.
Instantly, Dr. Ebert just read my personality. She's like, so you do better in a private practice where you were the first associate. I was like, yeah, 100%. That's definitely what I actually would prefer. But I wasn't 100% sure that there would be matches for that. And I just instantly felt like someone understands what I'm looking for to a T. And so if I didn't have that and Dr. Ebert didn't pick up on my, you want a small practice, I definitely would have been in a situation where I wouldn't have been happy. She was going to match me with someone who I could potentially have my lifelong career with.
Right now, we have added our new doctor, Dr. Sikora, her assistant, and another hygienist to the office. I'll be looking forward to mentoring and maybe running some ideas off of her and learning from her and trying to teach her the tricks that my dad taught me.
I didn't think I was going to find something like this. So when I walked in that first day and I was like, wow, this reminds me of being home. It was just a really good feeling to know that I found that when I didn't have any connections here and never expected to find a perfect match like I did.
I'm thrilled because everyone has been really excited about her. It's been such a long time coming, and it's nice to finally see everything working out. I can't say enough positive things about this program. The ADA Practice Transitions Program has been wonderful for me.
So I hope that that worked and that you were able to hear the video and hear the audio and see the video there. And at this point, I am going to ask Bree Simmer if she could join the group.
Thanks, Bill.
And Bree, if you could, Bree has been monitoring the Q&A, and she's going to share some questions with us.
Sure. So if you are listening in right now, as a reminder, you can send your questions through the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. So feel free to send those in. And we had a number of questions that were sent to us. The first one being, Bill, why is the ADA doing this now?
Yeah, excellent question. As you know, the ADA has just sort of been holding steady. I used to be the VP of Member and Client Services at the ADA, so I was charged with trying to address some of the membership challenges that the ADA has had over the years. And I started, a little over 6 years ago. And as we did our research and talked to members, what we found was that folks were really looking for the ADA to provide direct benefit. The thing that folks really like about the ADA are the things that only the ADA can provide. So advocacy, science, ethics, standards, those sorts of things. And that is important to all dentists. But what we found was that folks were looking for, in their membership, they wanted to be able to draw a direct line between what the ADA did for them and that came out of the fees that they pay. And so that was why we went down this path of trying to develop a service that would actually help dentists with things that were keeping them up at night. So that's why we formed this. We went through and working with a consulting firm, we considered 10 different services, and this one rose to the top. And actually, when we went through an independent ranking procedure with it was the internal ADA staff, it was the ADA Board of Trustees, and it was the Budget and Finance Committee. All went through individual ranking procedures. This was the one that came to the top with all of them. So that's why we built the service, and that's why we're offering it now.
Yep, thank you. So we just had a question come in. Will ADAPT be handling specialist practices?
That is a wonderful question, and I will be the first person to say that's one I got wrong. So I will tell you that when we went into this, I don't think it's a surprise to think that we built this for general dentists, just because that is the biggest volume, and this is a network product. So that means it is it's more efficient the more people participate in it. And I had assumed that specialists sort of had their own tighter network and that they didn't really need anything like this. And I can say that either the first or second question that comes up every time I present what we're doing is this included for specialists? So specialists can use this, but you will see when you go into the profile that it is not built for specialists. It is built for general practitioners. Having said that, we have a rather elaborate product plan that we have built out that has enhancements that we will do over time. Once we get past this national rollout and begin to provide this service across the nation, one of the next items on our product plan is to make modifications to this that will make it appropriate and more useful for specialists. So we will get there. In the spirit of fairness, I will tell you it probably won't be this year. It probably will be a little bit further down the road, but it is on our product plan, and we do plan to offer it for specialists. So thank you for the question, and I will take it that that means you would like it to be available for specialists.
Okay, Bill, I am ready to sign up right now. Where do I go to complete the profile?
Yeah, you know what, Bree? I'm going to let you answer that one because there is a chance that I will get one part of that website wrong. I'm going to let you answer.
I would be happy to. So I'm glad that you asked. We will be sending out an email shortly after this webinar, providing a link to access the profile. As Bill and Dr. Ebert mentioned, we are opening nationally on October 5th. However, we are providing early access to everyone who signed up for this webinar. So stay tuned to your email within the next few hours, and you will get a unique link that you can use to go and create your account and get your profile started.
And I should have mentioned, Bree is the Director of Marketing and Operations at the ADA Business Innovation Group. And so you are in good hands with directions from her about these specific things. But I am thrilled that that is your reaction, and we look forward to helping you find your transition, ideal transition.
I am a non-member. Can I participate in ADAPT?
Absolutely. You can participate in ADAPT. The only difference is that the prices are different, and all of this is disclosed on our website. So if you go to the website, you can see both the member and the non-member prices every step of the way. That special that I talked about, where submitting your profile prior to December 5th, that holds for non-members as well, though you do have to submit that profile before December 5th, but it will be at the non-member price, not at the member price. I believe that the fee for a practice sale for a non-member is 7% instead of 4%, and for an associate match, it's $5,000 instead of $3,500 from the owner, and from the associate coming in, it would be $1,000 instead of $500.
Great. So a question came through from a dental student. I'm in my first year of dental school and hopefully will graduate in May of 2021. I mean, my final year, not my first year. I'm in my final year and will hopefully graduate in May of 2021. Can I apply to be an associate in a practice that is willing to sell the practice in the next 18 to 24 months?
Absolutely, though I'm going to let Dr. Ebert answer that question. You've done this, so why don't you walk her through how that works?
Thank you for asking that. It turns out that what we call that is an associate to owner track. And we hear all the time from our dental students, can I use this? Does this work for me? I haven't really articulated my philosophy of care. And I can answer with a resounding yes. This works beautifully for dental students. We are able to expose you to different practice styles, different locations, just things that you've probably not considered. And we can help you to find just the right place for you. As you heard from the video, Dr. Sikora was a fourth-year dental student when she signed up, and she found her perfect match. We had another, actually, I think 4 or 5 of our completed completed matches have been with dental students. So please, please sign up and keep your options open, and let's work together to find just the right place for you.
Now, I'll just add one more quick thing. We've talked at all of the dental schools that are in our pilot states, and we would welcome any invitation to come to any other dental school that you would like to invite us. We've done lunch and learns. And one of the things that I've been disappointed to hear is that dental students, it seems like in some places, are told there is no way they can buy a dental practice right out of dental school. Now, it is harder. There are, financial hurdles, and people are graduating with a significant amount of debt these days. But that does not mean that it is not possible. It certainly is possible. And actually, if you use the worksheets and the templates and the toolkits that we provide in the platform, you can figure out whether or not that's a possibility for you and exactly how to make that work. And again, the ADA advisor is there to help you every step of the way.
So what if I have a prospective buyer? Can I participate?
Yeah, if you have a prospective buyer, then I think maybe you wouldn't need us. We feel like we provide a lot of value for folks. So yes, you are welcome to provide us as long as you feel comfortable paying the fees that we charge. We can't do this for free as much as we would like to. So we do charge a fee for the services that we offer. And if those services are valuable to you for those fees, then we would love to help you. And I'll tell one quick story. It's one of my favorite stories. When we first released this in the pilot states, I got a call from a dentist in New York State who desperately wanted us to come to New York. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, we're not there yet. What is your situation? And he says, well, I have a son and a nephew who are graduating from dental school, and they are planning on coming to work in my practice. And I said, oh, that's great. Then you don't really need us. I said, I can direct you to some of the resources at the ADA that can help you. And he said, no, you don't understand. He said, what I like about you is you're about the philosophy of care. And my son and my nephew are not right for my practice. And I need some proof to tell them that. So he wanted us to come there so that he had a way to prove to his relatives that they were not right for his practice, which was actually quite gratifying in that he understood exactly what it was we were after and what we're trying to provide.
Great. So do you do practice valuations? And if so, what is the cost for that?
Suzanne, you want to take that or you want me to take that?
I'm happy to.
Yeah.
We do not have a practice valuation that's included in our service. However, we do have a wonderful company that we have been working with, and they have provided our clients with some wonderful valuations, and the cost is incredibly reasonable at around $1,500 to $2,000. Typically, a practice valuation starts around $3,500, and we've heard of them as high as $13,000 to $15,000. So go ahead, Bill. You look like you're ready to jump on in there.
Yeah, I was just going to say we do, like Suzanne said, we don't do them, but we can get them for you at a very cost competitive rate. Many times those valuations that are used in that broker market end up with a big book that then is used as a selling tool for somebody who's looking at your practice. We don't do that. And we don't think that's the best way to sell your practice. What we're trying to do is match people on those philosophy of care issues, and then we think the other things can come through much more easily because that philosophy of care is in place. But the valuation, and again, we've got some blog posts and other information on this, but what we remind folks all the time, there's a great blog post that Suzanne put on Dr. Ebert put on our website, where one of the dentists actually had multiple valuations done and ended up really relying on the one that gave him the highest value. And then he couldn't get an offer anywhere near what that highest value was. It's like in the real estate market, if you think your home is worth $1 million and people are only willing to pay $500,000, your house is only worth $500,000. A practice is worth what someone is willing to pay for it. But that was a long-winded answer. You can tell we live and breathe this stuff. So the answer to your question is we do not do it personally, but we can direct you to a very cost-effective way to get it done.
So our time is coming to a close. We're about 2 minutes out right now. We have a number of questions that have come in that we haven't quite gotten to. So we will take all of the questions that we have not gotten to, or ones that were asked by multiple people, and include them in a blog post that we will answer them, and we will send that blog post out to you within the next few days. Before we close, I just want to ask, when should I sign up? If I'm thinking about doing a transition, what is the timing in which I should sign up for ADAPT?
Bill, I'm going to take this one.
No,
with your permission. You want to go ahead and sign up now. If you're looking to transition, certainly within the next 2 years, you should be signing up today. We have found, especially for an ownership transition and those that involve practices that might be in the less urban, less highly desirable markets, the transition itself, even after we find the match, can take anywhere from 3 to 7 months. But we need that time to find just the right person to come into your situation so that you have the confidence that your practice will continue long into the future and after you have retired? The answer is now.
Exactly right.
All right, that sounds good. So I just want to remind everyone that we will be sending a link out to access the profile within the next few hours. So please check your email. Make sure to check your spam. Sometimes it can go into spam. So check all folders. And I am going to hand this over to Bill to close us out.
So thank you all so much for spending the time with us this afternoon. We hope we've done a good job of explaining to you who we are and what we do. And we invite you to share this information with your colleagues. Invite anyone to check us out. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to contact us. But all of the information that you need is available on the website. And if you begin to create a profile, you'll get access to all of these tips and traits along the way so that you can do this in a way that will allow you to achieve your transition goals. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Thank you so much for what you have done over the past several months, providing care under really difficult circumstances. I am so proud to be a part of this industry and the group of people who continue to serve communities and keep them healthy with oral care, which is absolutely vital to overall systemic health. So thank you for all of that. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Take care, everybody.